Welcome to another episode of Happy Never After. I'm your host. We are in studio in the Sound Lounge studios at Be Frank Network. I am one of your hosts, Mara Merrick, and here's the other co-host,
Joelle. Grace, go forth here for you.
I know we're not in the Poconos anymore.
Why not? Does that mean I can't speak with a weird accent?
I know everybody there's so
Shoot.
odd. Shoot, Tommy
Tommy and Eli,
most
coming
on over.
Friendliest neighbors in the whole entire world.
Yeah, it's crazy. And joining us, one of my favorite female comedians and friends and lovely people and host of Shooters Gotta Shoot. Wait, that's not right.
No, you nailed it. Host
Hell
of
yeah.
Shooters Gotta Shoot. Yeah.
I was like, gonna shoot, gotta shoot. Did I
Gotta
say it
shoot.
wrong?
Who are we shooting?
Erica Spera.
Hey.
Hi.
Pew, thanks for having me.
Oh my God.
It's so fun.
I know. Thanks for coming. It's risky times in these COVID times,
I know.
but I'm so glad that we get to be in one place. How's the COVID dick been treating you?
Jump right on it.
Oh, man. I mean, I hate to say it. Did anyone else feel like 2020, they were like, I'm going to have a free year. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I was turning 29, and I was kind of like, this is, you're not a spring chicken anymore. It was how I felt, and I had a breakup at the beginning of the year, like in January. So it felt
Yes.
like fresh off a breakup year.
I saw you right
can't.
after that.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to work out.
Right before it happened. Yeah, right before
It was
the
right
world
after.
shut.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Before COVID.
Right after breakup, right before COVID.
Yeah, but after a breakup where you're just like, I don't have the energy to give to really like someone for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt. And then it's like the world shut down, and all of a sudden I was like, maybe we should get back together. You're like, maybe, what are you doing?
Wait, did you get back together with him?
No, but it was something that we were somewhat like friends that I would hear from every once in a while. But then during lockdown, I had to be like, hey, unless you want to get back together, like we can't talk. Like,
Yeah,
I was like,
good
it's
for
lonely,
you.
it's a crazy time. Oh yeah, I mean, I tried.
Right. I tried, and then I was like, screw
I
it,
tried
I'll make
and-
boundaries instead.
Yeah, like I just was like, I've been thinking about you a lot. Like there's nothing to do. And you're
Yeah.
the last person that I was with. So
Yeah.
naturally.
How long
Yeah.
were you guys together?
4 months. It wasn't like super long.
Okay.
So, but it was like right as I got over it, right as I started going on dates, COVID shut the world down.
Yeah.
Like I went on one date and then it was like lockdown.
No
that was
more.
it.
Yeah. So you haven't done anything during COVID.
Oh no, I have.
There we go.
Yeah. It just isn't the year that I was imagining. I went on some pretty bad park dates in the park.
Dudes are getting off so easy with
It's
these
bad.
Oh, you want to go for a walk? No, I don't. I want you to dine me, okay?
Yeah, now you can. But before, like, I went on a park date. The dude didn't even offer to, like, get a water, snack, nothing. We just sat in the
Oh.
park. And I was kind of like, all right.
Whoa.
Didn't bring games, nothing.
Nothing, And you feel like, I'm not going to ask once I'm there. I'm like,
Mhm.
this is up to you. Like, we made the plan for the date. I drove to your neighborhood because I wasn't taking subways yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, I drove to Brooklyn and, like, it took me an hour. Like, I was like,
Right.
I looked hot. I'm like, I'm just sitting in a park.
Yeah. Jesus. They're getting off so easy. One guy, I did a stand-up New York show, and one guy shows up, has a blanket, puts a picnic basket out, opens the wine. She comes. He was like, would you like red or white? And I just stood there, didn't do my set, stared at them. I was like, how long have you two been together?
You have a brother.
He was like, this is our second date. I was like, marry him right now.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
But it's crazy. I talked to some guy friends of mine that were doing park dates, and they were like, the dude didn't get a bottle of wine, like some
Nothing.
cheese,
Nothing?
They were like,
Yeah.
nothing. I'm like, nothing. And then they were like, you need to be more of a bitch, Erica. And I was like, well, I'm already on the date. I'm not going to do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, the dude was perfectly nice, fine, but it was just like, yeah, first impressions are a big thing. And you just didn't do well. I'm not coming back,
No. I went on one date with a guy. We walked around the Brooklyn Bridge Park Pier, and Joelle and I were laughing about this earlier today. And he had his mask up so high, and then he had glasses on, that he kept pulling it up over his ears. And I go, oh, you think you're going to get COVID in your ears? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, mm-hmm.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Which, I mean, yes, they say that you could get it through any orifice. It's aerosol, but come on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not blowing coronavirus into your ears. Ugh. And he saw me almost fight a family that was fucking with my dog. So I was like, this is over, right?
Right.
We both just fucked up, right?
Don't drag it on
We
anymore.
both ruined it.
Yeah, I remember he was staring at me and telling me a story, and I could feel him looking at me, and I could see this Hasidic family about to chuck a bottle at my dog, and I was like, do it.
Yeah.
And then I like start inching a little bit more forward, and I was like, he's fucking vicious, and I was like, do it. And then and the kid really did throw the bottle at my dog,
Oh god.
and I was like, I'll fight you. And then I just sat back down, and he was like, the day was like, oh
He
my
took
God.
his mask and covered his eyes. And just like,
Oh, God.
"Did
Yeah,
you
it was
see me?"
crazy.
Yeah. It's like men can't handle a woman crying or yelling. Or really any confrontation, I feel like.
Right.
Then they see a girl like getting confrontational, they just don't know what to do.
Yeah,
They
they're
go
like-
into panic.
Shut down.
I can't handle it. She's too much for me. Okay, so is that it? Was that the only one?
No. I mean, I don't know. I was like, I'm not sure how this podcast
let's-
Yeah,
works. What do you
we're
want?
about breakups. We're about the dating and
Dating.
breakups.
Dating,
dating.
breakups, everything. Well, I gotta say, so I went on that park date. Yeah, there's nothing like a bad date to make you motivated to go on another date.
100
sometimes.
dates.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100, like your little experiment. But I went back home because it was early. It was like, because it was still light out. I don't know. I think it was like 5, 6. This is before you could sit down places, but you could get to-go drinks. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, I wanted a drink tonight. Like, I was like, I'm tired. I've had a long day. Like, so I went and got in line for a drink right near my apartment, and then started chatting to 2 cute dudes
There you
in
go.
line, naturally, right? And then I just was like, oh, okay. And then they were like, we're going to just like walk around and have some drinks. You want to come? And I was like, yeah, I'm game.
Yes.
And they bought my drink.
Awesome.
Right, because you had to order food at the same time. So I actually was getting food too, and they were asking me, they're like, do you have to order food here? And I was like, I don't think so. That's not a rule. Like, I didn't know.
Uh-huh.
And then with the bartender, I was like, oh, do you have to get food? She was like, yeah. And so I turned and I was like, oh, you do have to get food. And the bartender hooked me up. She goes, I mean, if they order with you, they don't. And I was like, you want to throw your drinks in? And then the one guy just like paid for all of it. I was
That's
like, oh.
Whoa!
I know, right? Like, I was like, man, I went on a date with a dude that didn't buy me
Right.
a water.
Did you tell them that?
And then, no, I didn't.
Oh, I feel like that would have been fun. I overshare though. I'm like, yeah, I just got done on the date. It was awful. Thanks for buying me a drink.
Yeah, no, I tried to be like cool girl, like, no, yeah, I just like look like this all the time walking around the neighborhood.
I rolled out like this.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
then,
so?
yeah, I mean, I really tried to do apps for the first time of like actually trying them.
Mhm.
We all half-ass it, right? But it's like, I think I went on 4 dates that were all just bad. And by the 4th one, I was like, forget this. Deleted the apps.
Which app did you go on?
Yeah.
I was really trying Hinge and then a little bit of Bumble, but Bumble, I was like, these dudes are typically lazy.
Yeah.
Is what I found. So I was like, let me focus on the Hinge, you know. But either way, I was like, these suck.
Right.
I was like, all right, Erica, you fully tried it. You had nothing to do. You fully tried it. You figured it would be like better quality people because we all had to do it. Like,
Right.
you couldn't really be out. And then I was like, let me delete the apps. And then I just was out in the wild and I was like, this is much worse.
Out in the
This
wild.
is- yeah, this is like, I'm, you know, I'm too like, I get impatient. So I'm like, I'll make moves. I'll shoot shots. And then when I took off the apps, it was like, I don't know what it was with like my energy in the world, but I was like, oh, this is too crazy. You got to get back on an app.
Yeah.
You got to contain this somewhere. Like I had, the night I was with the 2 dudes, I ended up making out with the one friend, but then he went back home to like California or something. So I delete the app. Suddenly I start hearing from the other friend that I was in line with. So I started hanging out with him and I was like, this is kind of odd, but he lives 2 streets from me, so that was very convenient.
Yeah.
So it's like you start doing that. And then I had a friend of my ex ask me out.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I was like, what do you know about so-and-so?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, didn't you guys just like hook up a couple times? He's like, oh, I know you hooked up. Like, I don't really care. It was a long time ago. I was like, oh, is that what he said? He was like, yeah, like, and I was like, oh, okay. I
So
was like, yeah, we can go out.
he gave him the go. Like he was like, yeah, sure, go ahead and date Erica.
I don't
or
think he
ask her
officially
out.
asked him.
Okay.
But then, like, as I said yes, and then when we were on the date, he brought it up quick. And I just was like, yeah, so that's what he said, just hooking up. And he was like, he was kind of like, yeah, what? And then he was like, and I was just like, okay. And I just said, you know, I said, I got to be honest, I felt guilty sitting here on a date with you unless I knew what you knew.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's cool. Like, I don't feel guilty anymore. And then, and then he just looked at me, he goes, oh, sounds like you thought it was more than it was. I was like, well, I guess so.
It sounds like you thought
Sounds
it was.
like you thought, yeah, me.
Yeah.
I thought it was more than what it was.
Oh, that's painful.
Well, yeah. Oh, that fucking hurt.
yeah.
Well, but I kind of was like, what can you say? What can you do? There's nothing I could say or do in that scenario that doesn't make me look like
A crazy person.
a crazy person, right?
Mhm.
Like I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, he wrote me off to you as someone I just hooked up with,
Right.
So I'm like, okay, then in that case,
That's
there's
what I
a
am.
green light.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, yeah. So I had a date with him, had a good time. We made out, and then we've gone out like 2 more times since
Oh.
then.
Nice.
It was really fun, and turns out he called him.
Oh.
And
Same thing. He just was like, oh, yeah, you know me. It wasn't anything serious.
Ah.
So I just was like, all right, well, you're going to double down on this.
Right.
I'll keep dating your friend. Like, I don't care.
oh my
So,
god.
So
yeah.
are you still talking to this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's something that I know he's not a monogamous type person.
Got it.
So it's like, it's just fun.
Right.
And
And that's
honestly,
kind of like all you
kinda
can
what you
do
need.
right now. Yeah, is
Yeah.
just have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I feel like a lot of men are really getting serious, or they're really going the other. Like, there's no middle ground. It's wild. It's wild country out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy.
I just deleted all of my apps a week ago.
oh, good for you.
Yeah, I was
9 days
bad.
off Bumble.
I
Yeah.
was really bad on it all.
all
Oh.
we would be hiking and she would be hinging, and I'm like,
we haven't been
are
in this
you-
area. Look at all these new
Oh,
faces.
like in that way. Oh,
and then
change your
she'd start
location.
messaging, and then I'm like, can we hike? Or like, this
It
is
was
crazy.
bad. I have issues that I'm working through of like needing validation and feeling worthiness. So I go on dating apps.
Do you have that? I feel like you.
I have the opposite where I'm so bad at checking them.
Yeah.
That's why I'm impressed. Like, oh, you keep bringing them out. Like, I feel like I'll finally have like an hour. Then I'm like, I don't know, watching TV or something. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you should check the apps. And I open it and I just look at the messages and I'm just like, oh, I'm too tired. Like, and I just put it away.
I'm traveling. I live in a camper and I'm not working right now. So I have more free time. I mean, I'm in school, but I have a lot of free time compared to what I used to have. So, but I deleted them all and I'm talking to one person right now.
Have you
from
ever
Instagram?
Have you ever hooked up with anybody just off Instagram or social media?
No, I don't think so.
You've never just like picked someone?
I mean, I've definitely tried to. It's not like I haven't tried.
What's your regular line when you go out into the wild?
When I go out into the wild, so I don't really have like a line. I feel like it's more you gotta just like open the door some way. So sometimes it's like sending a DM.
Yeah.
Like you initiate the conversation, you feel, do they want to kind of chat with me?
Mm-hmm.
Or the Instagram move is you like, if it's new fresh meat, like you just start following them and you like 3 pictures in a row or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
And deep dive it. Not like
Yeah.
recent pictures, just like be like, yeah, I'm looking through.
You like
You're like, yeah, I'm in a year ago.
Yeah.
Like not accidentally. My friend sent me a picture of a guy that we both knew once, and she was like, "Oh, he's so hot," and I like pulled up the picture and I liked it. I didn't look at the date, and I was like, "Oh, I like the pic," and she goes, "No, it's from like a year ago," and I was like, "What, dude? I just liked it." She's like, "Why did you like it? Why didn't you look?" I'm like, "I don't know. You just sent me the picture." Like I was like, "I'm at work. I'm not paying attention," and I was like, "Shit." She's like, "Unlike it." I'm like, "He's gonna see I liked it. That's
Right.
creepier." You unlike. Like I was like, "I'm gonna," and then I did. It's a nice picture.
Yeah.
And then he messaged me and just went, "Are you okay?" And I was just like, "Yeah." And then I told him, I was like, "Yeah, my friend sent it to me." And we both were like, "Yeah, he's hot." So I just put it out there like
Right.
that. And then I ended up hooking up with him
oh my god!
like a week or 2 later.
So you
it's
did
like,
have some IG.
yeah. But what's funny is
success.
I'm like, oh, you can almost do that move as like a pretend accident.
Yeah.
And that just genuinely happened. That's like the best moves I think happen almost accidentally.
Right.
Mhm.
I had that, and then I remember one time I was out at a show, and then afterwards I was talking to this like couple guys, and this one guy was like really cute. He was kind of flirting with me, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go smoke," and I was like, "Cigarettes or weed?" And he was like, "A cigarette," and I just was like, "Oh," and he goes, "Why?" And I was like, I mean, I don't know. I just thought you were cute till you said that, and I just naturally said that, and he was
Yeah.
like, but he just goes, "Wait, you think I'm cute?" I was like, "That's all you got?
That's
Like, that's all you heard?" Like he was like, "Don't go anywhere," and he came back, and he got my number, but then I ended up not hearing from him. But I'm like, little things like that, I feel like I don't know. That's me. I'm too like, I don't think it through.
You really don't.
No, you gotta.
I've known you for a while now.
But that's the best. Like, I hate to say this, my ex's friend is someone that like the whole time, because also I never thought any of his friends would ever ask me out, right?
Right.
Because you think they know you dated, but they don't.
Right.
Right.
So like the whole time, it's like you're just naturally being yourself.
Mhm.
And so even with just like texting, there was a couple times that like, you just instinctively like type a response. And then you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that, right? Like, you're like, oh, is
Do
that
I know him
too
well
much info?
enough?
Is that too,
Yeah.
like, or like too sexual of a joke or whatever?
Mhm.
But like with him, I'm like, I just do the instincts and he's into it. And I'm like, oh, this is
Nice.
great. Like, I was like, oh, I really
It's
don't have to think at
comfortable.
all.
Yeah.
I just feel like we should be our authentic selves because it's gonna come out. Like, you can hide it for a couple of months, but then we're such big personalities that it's definitely gonna creep out. And even like, like a smaller personality initially, it all comes out. It just takes a minute.
No, yeah.
Lay
This
it on the
dude that I
table.
started talking to, I had that tumor on my face, and I kept sending him all the gross videos of it. And I was like, this is me, buddy.
Some people are into that, though.
I know.
Like, I'm into a pimple. When someone's like, can you get this pimple on my back? I'm
Oh,
like,
you're one of
"Yes."
those? Those are good friends
I
to
can.
have. Those are good friends to have, for
Right?
sure.
And I hate when I have one and someone's like, oh, I don't want to.
Yeah, come on, I do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man. It's on my back. I
Yeah.
can get there. Like, help me out.
What's the longest relationship that you've been in, and was that your worst breakup?
I mean, I'm like a 3-4 monther.
3-4 monther.
Yeah. I've yet to hit it past 4 months with someone.
What happens? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know. It's like I used to have a joke about it of like I've been promoted at every job I've had, but I've never been promoted to girlfriend. Like I'm always right there, and then it like ends because I'm the type of like I know what I want. So I'm with you like 3-4 months. That means I really like you.
Okay.
Like I don't, especially if I'm like slowing down other parts of my life to see you. That's a big one for me. So it's also rare that I really like someone that much. So like the one last year was like the first even like 4-month thing I had since really college, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean?
What is it that you want?
I mean, when I like someone, I'm like relationship. I don't really have wandering eyes for other people.
Okay.
Like I could definitely I don't think I could ever do an open thing for sure now.
Oh God, no. What I couldn't personally. Other people can, and I just cannot. I am there with you. So what is it? What do you see? Let's just put it out into the universe.
Okay.
What is it that you want out of a relationship?
What do I want in a relationship?
100%.
I mean,
Your ideal
You're
partner.
you're building this person.
Yeah, this is
'Cause
your
I was like-
Build-A-Bear moment.
Whether they exist or not.
well, it's like a vague answer is like you just want some love, you know?
Right.
Like I know a lot of women when they date men, so cis straight relationships, there's like kind of a checklist or it's like there's a provider part to it
Mm-hmm.
that I don't feel like I have in me when I'm like dating. Like I went on a date with a guy where that I was like, yeah, this is like on paper guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got a good job. You're very nice. Like, I was like, I don't feel like this guy could stray if he tried, you know, like, and he's cute, but I just was like, I don't care if I see you again.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I don't have that, I don't, so that's, yeah. And like, I mainly need like just the love part. So that's
but you
why
need
like,
the passion.
yeah, that's why a lot of times I'll have someone that I'm like kind of just hooking up with and I'm like, oh, this is great.
Do you know your love languages?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know them in order. Like, talk about 'em. Yeah, I have a podcast about this
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I know all that.
Okay.
My love language changed actually after I got herpes,
Okay.
which was interesting. So my love language now, number one, is physical because but it makes sense. It's like that's where you get rejected
Yeah.
with herpes.
Right.
Or that was like the part of my life that was kind of taken away from me.
Mhm.
So it's like I mean, essentially I could still hook up with people on the fly, but the chances of them hooking up with me are now much slimmer because of herpes, which is reasonable,
Mm-hmm.
So that's now a number one that I found out in my last relationship too, that I was like, oh, I need you to like make moves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I can't be initiating all the time because then I just feel like you're not interested in me, or like the herpes thing gets in your head, even though you're like, I'm with this person. They,
It's already happened.
are into me. We're doing all this stuff. Like we're having sex, but there's something about like initiating and like feeling wanted that I'm like, oh, that's super important for me now, which I never realized till like you have someone that then acts that way. And you're like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Like even just little things, like a little like ass grab, something.
Yeah, grab my
Or
ass.
Arm around you, Little
Sorry.
cuddle up.
Yes. Hold the hand. I love a good hand hold. I know that's really cheesy, but I love it.
Well, it's not cheesy when you like them. That's the whole
Right.
thing. Like so that was the thing with my relationship. I felt like I really like you, but there are a lot of times I feel like you don't like me. And I think it was just love languages didn't line up and he just wasn't a very physical person, period. Because it wasn't like,
So it wasn't you. You
Yeah,
know.
I don't think it was me.
Right.
No, because it wasn't just a like, hey, in public thing, because I'm not super PDA either.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we were in private, I would feel like I was annoying him when it was like, you're on the couch and if I just like kissed his shoulder or something, like he kind of was like, what are you doing? I'm
Oh,
like,
God.
I
bummer.
like you?
Yeah.
Like I was like, there's no one here?
That's
Like,
a shitty feeling.
right. And it was, but I understood, like I wasn't mad because I kind of was
Right.
like, okay. But I remember once being like, yeah, I feel like I can only kiss you, not even for sure 100%, when we're in your room alone and the door's closed. Like,
I wonder what like weird trauma he went through to make that. Is he from like some Christian cult or something like that? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I
guilt?
mean, it's odd because most men, their number one love language is physical.
Yes.
So it's almost like when you read any books or advice for women, a lot of it is physical and being like, look good. Like they want to be physically attracted to you or like even like to spice things up or like the classic is Valentine's Day. And it's like, what do you get men for Valentine's Day? And it's like, I don't know, just get something sexy to wear. Like come out of the bathroom in lingerie. It'll like, spark them up. And like, I felt like with him, anything I did would be like too sexual.
Right.
That was even like little things like that.
Oh,
Weird.
that stuff's so fun too.
Ugh,
Like getting all dressed
yes,
up.
it is.
Lingerie.
To feel sexy.
Right. To have
Yeah.
someone make
Yes.
you feel sexy.
Exactly.
I didn't feel sexy in my marriage at all. Like, I don't think I've ever felt sexy until I got out of my marriage. And then it sparked something in me that built, like, when you have that feeling, the confidence you get that just exudes in all of your life,
Right.
not even just the bedroom, just the way you carry yourself when you finally look at yourself and you're like, I am sexy. I am good.
But as women that are not in the 50s anymore, we know that validation comes from within. So if you want to feel sexy, throw on your own damn jammies and skimpy jams and get out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes from both.
Yes, for sure.
So that's like, for me, that's the feeling wanted thing. It's the feeling sexy thing.
Mhm.
Like that's like the only time that I feel like I truly feel like a feminine woman is when I'm being sexual with a man. Because all the other aspects of your life, it's like you're working hard. I'm more of a masculine energy. But then when it comes to like relationships, I'm like, I like to be the feminine energy,
Mhm.
but I need the guy to step up and be the masculine energy.
Are you a nurturing person in the relationship?
I am. When I really like someone, like we talk about like shooting shots, making moves, I'm like, oh, when I like someone, I do like romantic shit. And I'm like, who am I?
Like what's the most romantic thing you've done?
Like I've like mailed cards.
Aww.
And I've timed it for when I'm out of town.
Oh, that's
That
real
I'll like mail a note
sweet.
or a card, or like we were together for Christmas, so I got him a Christmas gift, but I mailed a Christmas card, also because I knew he was going to be out of town, sort of
That's
thing. Like,
cute.
you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
was out of town, so I mailed it. He'd get it when I was gone.
Super thoughtful.
Little things like that. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
that was during quarantine, I mailed a letter. Not a whole letter. I just wrote like 2 little lines, and it basically just said, "I've been thinking about you a lot." Da da da.
Mhm.
But
To
it
your
wasn't
ex?
to my ex, yeah. But because we were like talking, and it's that thing. I'm like, I don't want to like send him like a text, because it's like you have to answer me right now.
Mhm.
Right.
Like I kind of was like, I'm gonna send this. If you get it, you open it, and you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me.
Yeah.
Type of thing. He reached out to me. Turns out he didn't like check his mailbox,
Oh,
so I thought he
goodness.
got it. He didn't, and then that was weird. About I was like, wait, did you get my note? He's like, what note? I'm like, fuck. Like, I was like, and then I just was like sweating, like, he's like, want to go right now? I'm like, I don't, like, I was like, I don't, yeah, what? Like, I was like, well, I just ruined it. But it was something that he was like, where did you send a note? And that made me be like, you are not a match. He was like, what did you, I'm like, where do I always send you notes? And he was like, I don't know. He's like, I don't have anything in my DMs or my email. I'm like,
Gosh.
hello, it's me. And then he finally was like, oh, the mail? And I was like, yeah. Like, remember? Like, that was a thing I did.
Do people not check their mail anymore? I mean, we still get bills. I get bills.
Most of my bills are online.
Yeah, same.
So I don't really have a lot.
I guess in Nebraska it's a little different.
Yeah, she's from. Yeah.
That's all right. No one's judging. But yeah, I
She
will
lives
be
in a
more
camper.
nurturing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then that's the other thing I feel like that flips when you're in those like couple month things. The minute I'm finally like, oh, I'm into this guy, and I
Mhm.
start doing those things, that's kind of when it ends.
So I listened to your podcast,
Oh.
and one you made a comment was "Don't name the puppy." Is that what?
Yeah.
Can you talk? Because I heard that, I wrote it down.
Okay.
Because I feel like you tell me.
Okay, it's a rule we have for the podcast, but also kind of real life that you naturally do with your friends, where you give guys nicknames till they're like your boyfriend.
Yeah.
But
we do.
especially if you have a friend who's currently going on a lot of dates, you naturally are giving nicknames because you wouldn't remember the names.
Right.
You're like finance guy or
Mhm.
Molly's current guy is
Joelle
Space Jam.
has 8 Joshes, and I'm like, which one is this? I don't.
I just go by what
Yeah,
state
right.
they live in now.
Exactly. So yeah, like we just did a survey today. Some episode came out for the guy I've been hanging out with, and it's like Mr. Clean versus French Toast for the 2 names we have. So far, Mr. Clean is in the win.
Yeah.
Why
But,
is he the win?
I don't know. I think it's just more of a name, so people tend to like
Is he
that more.
bald?
He is bald. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Clean for sure. I don't know anything about him, but
Yeah.
I like it.
So
But I do love French toast. Was that French toast? What you said?
yeah, the French Toast comes because the nickname for my ex was Eggs Benedict. So since it's the friend of the ex, we were like,
Got
that's
it.
possibly that for like, okay, kind of breakfast affiliation.
Yeah.
Was what we came up with.
Hmm.
It's just like a fun little thing.
It's fun. No, I remember way back when I was probably 21, 22, and my roommate was a male, and I'd come home and he's like, I can't keep track. Like, do we need a board that there's the architect and the police officer and then the guy from the bar? And I was like, yeah, I don't know, it's real hard to keep up with. Like,
Right.
draw lines.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, oh crap, I forgot something. It was something with shooting shots. Oh, a way I've been shooting shot indirectly to be the feminine energy is I turn my read receipts on, my texts.
I have read
She
receipts on.
does that.
Yeah, and it's partly good because there are a lot of times that I'll be doing stuff where I don't check my phone. So for your friends, they're actually like, oh, I kind of like it because I just know you didn't read it.
Yeah.
But it works really great with men of they'll say something and I'm basically like, this doesn't need a response. That I read it and I'm like, all right, like I'm done.
You think that's feminine energy? I think that's
It does. It makes them pursue you because they'll see you read it and they're like, she didn't say anything.
for sure.
Yeah,
Mm.
and then
Yeah.
they'll send it.
That's
Like
like
they'll
a
actually
pull
ask you
away.
a question. You're like, yeah.
I used to be on a podcast that this was one of their rules that you have to always play the game, that you always have to pull away for them for it to work forever. And I was like,
I hate that.
I don't agree with that at all. I think if someone is into you, they're going to be into you.
Right.
Exactly.
You
I
shouldn't
don't
have
I
to
don't
play
agree
games.
With, yeah, I don't agree with games.
Right.
No.
No.
I was
I
like,
know.
nah, fuck it.
I
Like,
feel
I
like
do
that's
the-
unhealthy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
That's why when everyone says they're like, oh, it just worked. When they finally meet like, their husband or their wife, they're like, oh, I didn't have to think about it.
Right.
Because it's a lot of it has to do with your smell and your posture
My
and
smell sweet. It's finally gonna come into play.
It's
So
your
much.
pheromones. It's how they mix and how you stand towards one another makes a big difference. You know how they teach you how to shake your hand so you turn your chest so you're not an aggressive posture and
Oh, no one ever told me that. I don't think I've been doing that. I was like, shit.
yeah, so you're not supposed to just go. You're supposed to just turn slightly
Okay.
and then stick your hand out so that you're not chest to chest because it's like old school peacocking where you're just like, what? You want to fight?
Okay. I was taught to like not have a weak handshake. That's
Yeah.
what I was taught.
I can't stand a weak handshake. Or if a guy
Yeah.
takes my hand and like anticipates a weak handshake, I'm like, whoop, and I get in there and our webbing's touching.
Yeah.
One time I went out with a dude off a dating app, not once, twice, and he flat palmed my back like this, where his fingers were so like
Did
extended.
you go
So
turkey?
and he would like rub my back like this the entire dinner, and I'm like, can you just put your whole hand down or no hand, like
Right.
all fingers or none?
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. It all depends.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like there's so much with energies and stuff that like I've always just felt I didn't have or I struggled with of like I never really have that like guys asking you out thing. Like it's like feels very rare that it ever happens. Or like with all like the books and stuff or the whole like, oh, you should be drawing away. I'm like, I have always felt like if I'm not doing anything, if I'm not trying to put myself out there in some way or like initiating just conversations with people, like I don't get anything.
You are a very strong personality. And you also you don't have that typical because you're tall, and so most tall women hunch over and try to make themselves more demure, and you stand like I am proud. I am proud of my height.
As you should.
As you should. Yes,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
great, and I think that in itself, maybe men get intimidated by that. They're like,
I know, but
"Oh."
there's all those things that are like, don't believe it when they're like, men are intimidated by this. Like all that jargon with like anything that women do.
They're intimidated by a lot of
I
shit.
think they're intimidated in
Which,
general.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I disagree, but I'm just like, so many men are like, oh no, that's like a bullshit excuse, women will say. When it comes to, I think, that comes more, I think, in terms of like personal accomplishment. But like physical size, I would agree with you. Like, there are some dudes that are super into that I'm tall, and then there's some dudes that are like, I could never date a girl taller than me. Which is so funny because I'm like, I've dated guys shorter than me. I don't care.
Oh my
Talk
God.
about that.
Yeah, I'm about to. I don't know.
Are you nervous? How tall are you, man? You're not.
5'4.5". He's about my same height.
Okay. But see, I was like, that's the beauty of being 5'4" to me is I'm like, you pretty much get to date anybody.
I know. I go over 6 feet usually.
That
I'm
nothing
sorry.
makes me want to choke a woman
I
more
know. I know.
than when she's 5'4" and she's like, no, I date 6 feet and up. I'm like, I've hooked up with someone that was 5'5" and you can't.
Wow.
Like,
I just haven't. I just never. I've never been in a room and been like that little guy that I can put in my pocket.
well, that's
Let's
a
do
different thing. But I've kind of found that like super tall guys tend to be more of like jerks and much less appreciative.
They are.
Yeah, and you never can really see what their face looks like until they lay down.
I don't trust no one if I can't see their face.
Yeah. Like, I mean, yes, it's easier to be attracted to a man taller than me because I feel smaller and I feel that more of a woman thing.
Yes.
Right.
Because we want to feel safe.
Right.
Right.
Or it's like I can wear whatever shoes I want, et cetera, right?
Mhm.
But it's something that for me, ultimately, it's like, no, if you don't treat me like I'm bigger than you, then we're good.
Right.
Yes.
May I ask
know
how
what I
tall
mean?
you are?
I'm 5'11".
Oh.
Yeah. 5'11", hot 180. You know? So it's like, I get it. I'm not small. So especially, I guess, when it comes to like sex or something of like, yeah, if a guy's like a little smaller, like maybe not as strong as a bigger dude would be, like, yeah, maybe they can't just like move you as easily, but like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the
I
only.
fucked a skinny dude recently. Not recently. It's been a long time, but he was like, let me, because he came on me. You know, when they were like, we've talked about this, I'm sure you have too, but you know, when they're like, where do you want the cum? You're like, and then you're like,
Oh, they say it like that?
yeah.
I've never had a guy say it
They're
like
like
that.
about to come and they're like holding it and you're like, where do you want it? And I'm like, my face. Put it on my face. And they always just land it right here
On
on
your
your hip.
That's hilarious.
Shoot for the hip instead of from the hip.
And so then he was like, I'm going to scoot you off the bed so you don't make a mess. And I
Okay.
was like, you're too little to scoot me off the bed.
You don't know that. You'd be surprised.
It was really embarrassing. He was like doing the whole like back first, legs, back up. And I was like, just let me do it. Let me just do the
funny.
rollover and get off the bed thing.
Well, I was like, that's what I've heard more common with women is like skinny versus like more meat on them.
Yeah.
Like a lot of women I know are like, nah, I need a guy that's got like a
A
little
little
dad
beef.
bod or like, yeah, they
Yeah.
like more meat to them. Like they kind of don't care so much about the height.
I feel like that has to do more with them wanting to feel skinnier than the dude.
I don't know. I think it's something of I've had girls be like, no, I feel like they're like a 16-year-old boy. Like they're like, I don't feel like
Right.
they're a
Oh,
man.
yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And true, I do think it comes from something of like I'm bigger. So it's like, yeah, if they're not super skinny, it's kind of nice where you're like, oh, okay.
You're not bigger, you're just tall.
But you know what I mean? Like I'm not 100 pounds or whatever the heck.
Oh
You're
my
also
God.
I'm not-
5'11".
Yes, but I know that. Like I'm not sitting there like I'm fat.
Yeah.
But what's funny though is the first person I was ever with was shorter than me and like that scrawny, skinny type.
Yeah.
So I've dated skinny dudes and it doesn't bother me like them
Mhm.
being super skinny or skinnier than me because I'm like, yeah, I'm a woman. So
Right.
like I'm like I
I
got an
am
extra
woman.
layer, you know?
Yes, I
It's
love
never,
it.
I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what size they are as long as you're attracted to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's that energy. Like it's either there or it's not there. And there's been guys where great on paper, so nice, like on the phone, blah, blah, blah. And then I got in person and I'm just like, oh, you don't make me tingle in my lady parts, you know? And like, I want that.
Do you think that the online makes you create a narrative that you have like a higher expectation and
Mm.
then you show up and you're like, oh, this isn't the fairy tale that I thought it was going to be?
Yeah.
Depends on what you talk. I don't talk to them too much. That's the hard part, especially now with COVID, especially in the beginning. Like I did a couple like FaceTime dates and then met them in person because it was like things are shut down. We shouldn't be meeting people.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like go on an actual date till like I think it was like June. Like it was like right when things were starting to kind of open up more, or
Mhm.
like it was warm enough. You're like, okay, we could just sit outside. But it's hard because it's like you want to talk to them enough to be like, okay, they're not a creep, or they're not just trying to hook up if that's not what you're trying to do. But then you don't want to talk too much.
Right.
Yeah.
Then some dudes are kind of like calling you and stuff. But I like a phone call if it's online.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't have a for sure screening process, but I have a lot of friends that do that so they don't waste their time.
Right.
Because a phone call's like a first date.
She talks to her guy on the phone for hours at a time every day.
This is an online guy you never met.
Never met him.
Right.
But I've FaceTime with him pretty much now.
He doesn't live here either.
He lives in Texas.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that's different. That's like, yeah, I wouldn't be like, FaceTime once and then go fly to Texas. I wouldn't be like, yeah, get down there. You gotta see his pheromones.
Right.
I'd be like, you should make sure. You should make sure before you go.
I'm meeting a guy in a week, and we text, but I don't think a lot. And part of me wants to hold some of that, like you were saying, like wait until we're in person to talk about some of this stuff instead of getting it all out via text message. We do need to have a phone conversation. We send like videos back and forth, like of our day, but
I think of FaceTime.
Yeah, it's something like my rule with first dates, whether it's online or in person. It's like you should want to kiss them on the first date. It's kind of how I feel.
I make out with my phone when I look at pictures of him. Just kidding. I would. He's so cute.
Yeah, but you talk about like that, like basic attraction.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you don't want to kiss them by the second date, I'm like, I don't think it's gonna just get there on the third date. Like very basic, because I mean, so many women stress like, God, some people have a rule about like kissing on first dates or whatever, which is fine, whatever your rule is. But so many women stress that like when you sleep with a guy, and I'm like, I stress more, do you want to? I'm like, it's very easy to do all these rules that like all these books and stuff say, like Steve Harvey. It's like, yeah, very easy when you're not that into him. When you don't really like him.
Right.
Like I'm like, you should at least want to. You should have to feel like you're taming yourself.
Right.
A little bit if you are.
Whenever I FaceTime with Dave, I'm like, he's so fucking hot. Every single time. Every time. And then I'm
Which
like,
is great.
Let's see those legs. Let's see how tall those legs are. No,
prop that phone up. Prop it up. And then you just see like his eyes.
Yeah.
Wait, this is the short guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're already like, he's so hot. What is
He's so hot.
The short thing really doesn't matter.
Okay.
It really doesn't. Also, it's shorter. I've just found in general, shorter dudes tend to be better in bed.
Ooh.
So I'll throw that.
My dad's
what's
only 5'4".
short for shorter than you?
A little shorter than me are like my size for me personally, but
Yeah.
the ones that were shorter than me, like 5'8",
Yeah.
5'7", 5'9",
Get
like
down.
they were usually like distinctively better.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were they older?
No, not necessarily. And it's something that I don't know if that comes from I was a little taller, that they felt like I really got to bring it.
Yeah. I'm going to climb this woman.
Right? But it's essentially, I think it comes from like a lot of the tall guys I was with were like athletes. And there's something about being
Arrogance.
tall and athletic that it's like, oh, you just always got girls.
Right.
That they never like had to learn how to keep one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm like, there's two red flags to me of like, you might not be great in bed is if you're tall and an athlete, like you were a starter, you know? Like if you're gonna get an athlete, pick like the worst kid on the team or like the kid that's the manager. You know what I mean? Not kid, that sounds terrible. The man. Well, I'm thinking back to like, college.
Yeah.
I'm like, like I'm not really like with athletes now. It's like we're all but yeah, it's like that, or if the dude has never had a girlfriend. Is usually also a like, oh, you never learned how to make like one girl finish and happy.
I definitely dig a guy who's had a glow up, like who wasn't the athlete his entire life or the handsome kid his entire life. Because I kind of was an ugly duckling, and like in the last 4 years, like peaked. I haven't peaked. I think I'm still going, but like
No, you peaked.
Okay, this is it. This is as good as it gets. But when I meet somebody who's like, oh, I also lost a lot of weight, or I was awkward, and I'm like, oh, you too? Like, so then they get the quirkiness of having that kind of goofy personality because you couldn't be ugly and mean and dumb. Like you had to have something. So
I want to get back to what you want out of a relationship. I want definitions.
I was like hoping we wouldn't come.
I know.
back to
I could
that.
tell.
See, I know. I hate like intimate stuff like this. It's not
I know.
my forte.
Anytime there's intimacy, maybe this is the issue because you have like a shoulder, you pull everything in, and I was like, oh, this bitch doesn't want to tell me.
Well, that's like why I say with when I
Arms
really
are
like
crossed,
someone, it's like they like I say like they made me crack in a way.
Yes.
Like I cracked and I got soft. And that's always that's when it like ends. So
okay,
that's the
do you
part.
feel like you start projecting once you crack? Do you feel like you're like, okay, now I'm gonna crash?
No, I think I'm not sure what it is, but one theory I have is like when they first meet me and hang out with me, the reason why they're drawn to me and like hanging out with me is they get the vibe of like, oh, she doesn't want
Casual.
like
She
a
wants casual.
lovey-dovey whatever. Like
Yeah.
she's busy, she works really hard. She's not trying to do girlfriend stuff. So it's like, oh, she's just cool. Like we
Mhm.
hang when we hang or whatever. And then once you start doing certain things, it's like even if you're not saying anything, men know they're like, oh, they want more than I do.
Mhm.
So I think sometimes that's kind of the problem. So like with my last guy, very early on, I was like, I really like you. Like I was pretty open and stuff and told him, and that comes with also like telling someone about herpes sort of thing. But I was like very open of like, not only didn't know about herpes, but I was kind of like, yeah, I like you. Like I'm already at the point, like if we sleep together, like I wouldn't want to sleep with anyone else and I wouldn't want you sleeping with anyone else.
Mhm.
So I kind of just said that before we even did, just kind of like, yeah, that's how I feel sort of thing. So I think I've become better in my later years.
Do you want to get married?
I would like to be married someday, yeah.
Do you want to have children?
I'm on the fence on kids.
What?
Because
how do you, go ahead.
primarily financially, that's why.
Okay.
So,
So
like,
say you have
If
all the money in the
all
world.
the money in the world, I would have kids, yeah.
Okay. So then you want kids. Okay.
Well, it's just, I think that's like the feminist in me of I don't look at dudes being like, okay, well, I don't make enough money to have kids, so like you need to.
Yeah, but
Get what I'm saying?
it's not about who cares what everybody else is doing, who cares what everybody else thinks. If this is what you want, that's what you want. That is beautiful thing about being a feminist, being a mom, and being even as being a stay-at-home mom is also a choice. It's a feminist
Oh, yeah.
thing.
I'm not knocking that.
Okay, good.
I'm just saying, like, if I fall in love with someone
Mm-hmm.
and I want to marry this guy and together our income is not enough to have children, then I'm okay not having children.
Right.
That's more what I'm saying.
I'm just saying, let's put a big wish bag out there, right?
Okay.
And actually figure out what you want, because if you keep limiting yourself, then you're gonna have a limited life.
Okay.
So let's go for what we want. Let's go for gold.
Okay.
There's something in
We're
your
playing like MASH right now,
We're
right?
playing-
We're like, what's your dream? Dream city,
Apartment.
dream man, dream.
Yes,
you know,
dream.
all that stuff.
Yes.
Dream. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, I would like to be married and have kids.
Beautiful. Do you see yourself in like a home, or do you see yourself in an apartment? Do you want to stay here in New York? Where do you want to live?
I do love New York.
Okay.
I can go either way on that.
Okay.
I don't mind the apartment life, but I also don't mind like I have a lot of family in Jersey, so I'm like a house in Jersey doesn't seem crazy to me either.
Right. Because then you could just come in here.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself like doing comedy forever? Do you want to have a comedy writing job? Do you want Shooters Gotta Shoot to blow up? What do you want?
I love doing comedy. I would just love to hit the point in my career I don't have to travel all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's I end up in a writer's room, the podcast gets big enough, or even just from stand-up I make enough money that it's like, oh, okay, I can travel 2 weekends a month or whatever it is.
Not to sound like a fake Oprah, but what is it that you feel are going through that you don't feel like you deserve these things?
Who said I don't feel like I deserve it?
Because you just are like closed off and you won't even take them in as something that you that you actually want.
You're talking about the kid thing or everything?
I'm just talking about like everything. I feel like you're not like accepting the things that you really want as something that is a viable option for you. So you're like, Erica, you deserve all these things.
Thank you.
You're such a great
I was
person.
like, I think I deserve these things.
Okay,
I was
good.
like,
Do you really?
Yeah, I think. Well, this whole theory of the like putting it out in the universe and saying it. Sometimes you feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself. So I think a lot of times I don't like to say certain things out loud because then it's more pressure.
And then you feel disappointed if you don't get that.
Yeah,
or-
it's even like with turning 30 this year is
Uh-huh.
like indirectly.
Not really, because nobody's aging this year.
But you know what I mean? Of like anyone I've at least been a little bit like 30's coming. Like I've already for 2 years been like, I just wish I was already 30. So it's just like, okay, it's here.
Yeah.
Like we're over it. Like let's on to the next thing. Like
Mhm.
I don't like that anticipation of 30, but also because I reevaluate my years around my birthday.
Okay.
So that's like around my birthday. It's kind of like, what did we do this past year? Blah, blah, blah. Crap, I'm getting choked up.
Can we take a quick pause to talk about our sponsor?
Yeah.
Best Fiends. It is a game that you can play when you're feeling alone. It's your birthday. And
Or holidays, whenever you.
it is amazing. I love the game. It does when Joelle and I have been living together under the same roof, spending 24 hours a day. It's a very nice release. Uh, they have really adorable little animals that you can win, and they can grow up, and it's like raising a little family when you have no boyfriend. So Best Fiends is a binge-worthy mobile puzzle game that's free to download. With over 100 million downloads, this 5-star rated mobile puzzle game is a must-play. More levels, events, and challenges added all the time. When you want just one more level, it'll be there, waiting and ready. Seriously, once you download Best Fiends, that's not friends, it's fiends, boredom won't stand a chance. So download Best Fiends free today on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R, Best Fiends. And it's awesome. Do you guys play games on your...
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on COVID.
I know. It is really... I really didn't think that, like, I don't have any other games on my phone other than this one. And it's really cool because it has a lot of strategy, and you're like a math person.
Oh, I love math.
Yeah. So
Currently tutoring. Anyone needs help.
it has a lot of math. Like, you have to wiggle around and figure out all these puzzles. So it definitely stimulates the brain, and it's great. So download Best Fiends free today on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R, Best Fiends. Okay, let's get back to your tears.
Damn it, Mara. You fucking broke me. No, but I guess the big thing for me on birthdays is where I'm like, oh, you're alone.
I feel that all the time myself, every day, so I get it.
I don't feel it all the time, but like that's the one time that I'm like, on my birthday, whatever, it's like, what do you want for your birthday? I'm like, I want to go out to dinner with someone I love. That's it. Like, I want to spend the day with who I love, with somebody, and each birthday, God, I hate crying.
It's okay.
I'm
crying now.
You better not put this in the post. Erica cries.
It's gonna be our headliner.
Yeah,
ruin your persona.
No, it doesn't. I've cried on podcasts before. Some things get me, but it's like, I guess that's the one part of life I've never felt successful in.
Mm-hmm.
And then birthdays are kind of a reminder of like, you try to have like the positive, like, oh, we're like, you have so much going on, so much to be thankful for, and like, or it's kind of like every year you kind of feel that like, oh, you never know, I might meet someone this year and like fall in love. So it's like never having that like little birthday experience is kind of the like, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of this reminder of like, okay, another year, and like you still like haven't had like, I guess, a real relationship. Like, even my ex, like, he never, like, I was never a girlfriend, right? Or even to his friend, I wasn't even a girl he was dating. You know what I mean? So it's like stuff like that. It's just kind of like, damn, you almost kind of feel like sometimes it's selfish to say it, but sometimes you kind of feel like, damn, when is it just going to happen for me? Like the way everybody else is always like, oh, it just happens.
It just happens when, oh God.
It's happened for you a lot.
A lot. But I've never sat with someone on my birthday. I mean, I definitely loved my first husband a lot, and he definitely disappointed me and ruined love for me, I feel like. And so we had that, and so I know it's available. And I feel like I am finally at a point where I'm open enough. Because there was, you get into comedy and you're like, I'm this tough chick and I don't need anything and I don't need anybody from. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm not. I'm not a tough chick. I am a very loving, emotional roller coaster. And this is what I want. And this is now what I'm going to go for. And I don't care what the other comedians feel about my thoughts. I don't care what my family feels. These are my authentic feelings. And, I think we live in such a hard area with such a cultural pressure to be so cool. It's like, you know what? I'm going to change the cool. The cool is being honest and authentic and like, just go for it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I always feel like I'm honest. It's like when, like, that's something I feel like my 20s taught me was like, if you're hooking up with someone or whatever, dating someone, once I hit the point that I'm like, oh, I have feelings for this person, like, I'll say something. Like, I don't sit there quietly and do the whole like, oh, it's fine. Like, I'll just keep hanging around and he'll come around. It's like, no, he won't. You won't come around. Like, so that's, I think, a lot of women lie to themselves, especially with the hooking up culture, is we all want to be part of it, because otherwise you feel like you're not getting any, or you're not doing anything, or you're not living your true young life, your true like Sex and the City life. But like when you catch feelings, you catch feelings.
Yeah.
And like you're just protecting yourself if you actually speak up and recognize it.
Yes.
Right.
So that whole like waiting around, like, no, like if we just keep having good sex, he'll probably take me out.
Right.
It's like, no, he won't.
Yeah.
He won't. But yeah, I think in the last I call them, this is my new term, I call them sneak peeks. It's like they're not relationships, but they're a sneak peek into a
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, I know what it would have been like if I was your girlfriend, but
Right.
never got there. So it's like I had a sneak peek, as we say.
Mhm.
I think that just basically taught me like, oh, I do have a lot of love to give, because I always kind of felt like not, I guess, a mushy or super lovey person.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially just within my own immediate family, it kind of was like my brother was always a relationship person. I was always the alone person. And then my sister's like a combo of both of us. But like, I'm always the one that no one's like worried about.
Mm.
Like, so it was weird when I came out publicly with herpes. Now they're all like worried about it.
Yeah.
But even then, like, I'm always the one that people are like, no, like Erica will be fine. Erica's very independent. Erica's very
Yeah.
self-sufficient. And then my brother is the one they're always like, oh my God, I think Marcus is lonely. Like,
Right.
and I don't know if it's like a boy thing versus girl
I
thing.
think it's a second child thing.
Yeah, it is a second child
I
thing.
think so,
It's
for
I was always used to like, Erica just shows up, Like I was always the kid that was forgotten to get picked up.
Mm.
Like I'd be somewhere like, where
Yeah.
are my parents?
It's
And
happened.
they were like, oh
Yeah.
man. Like they were like eating dinner and all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, Erica.
When I lost I was buying a house at the beginning of the
Yeah.
COVID, and when I lost it, and my sister was so dismissive about, she was like doing the whole like, oh, everything's gonna be, doing that whole like girly girl thing, like it's gonna be fine, whatever, universe. And I was like, you don't understand what it's like to be alone in New York City and fighting for your life every day and just trying to make a dollar and make a life for yourself and find love. I was like, you've been in a relationship since 7th grade. He's been
Yeah.
protecting you since then.
Yeah.
I was like, and I was hiccup crying to her. And then she hung up, and then she called me right back, and she was like, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And I was like, I haven't been okay for a long time.
Yeah, right? Or you just feel like those people that are always in relationships, first of all, I don't know how they do it. Like, I'm like, I can't get one. I'm like, they just go from like one to the next, right? But the other thing is like, they often have no idea what it's like to navigate as like you're one person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like not even like take like dual income out of it, just of like support system. So like being in that relationship too, like taught me like, oh, like this is nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I never had someone at least be like, even just like a cheerleader in a way with stuff. Like he was very down with like comedy and the podcast, like all this stuff. He was always so encouraging of like any idea I had, and was like attracted to that. I worked hard and had like a lot of drive,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just like, oh, I didn't realize how nice it is to have someone
Right.
Yeah, be supportive.
like, yeah, to support, and then also like supporting them.
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's not easy.
Have you considered adding some of the mushy stuff to the prior to the crack? Like maybe some non-intimate touching, like just like some like nurturing style. Like I always do a touch on the forearm, like I'll hold
Yeah, I'll
while
be
I'm
touchy.
talking
Yeah,
in the beginning.
yeah.
Okay, good.
It's once, but it's if I like them.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why, like, the stupid rules that are like, make them chase you. I'm like, that's easy when you don't like them. But when I
Right.
like them, I'm like, if I want to call you, I'll just
I
call
want
you.
to be
Yeah.
next to you. I want to be with you if I like
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to run away from you. That's stupid.
The dude that I've been talking to, he's like, sex isn't, he's like, for me, sex isn't that important. I was like, well, for me, I really need like human touch and human connection. And I also need to see if your smell works with my smell. Like, I don't want to do this forever. If you show up and I'm like, ugh, nah.
Well, that's kind of the independent woman thing.
Yeah.
It basically makes it like, yo, man, sex is the one part of my life I don't have.
Right.
Like, on a basic level of relationships, you're like, I have a place to live. I have food to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I got my dog. I got my car. I pay my bills. So you're like,
I got a cabin. I
you're
got
like-
a regular house. Yeah. Like,
you're like, I'm truly with you because I enjoy your company.
Right.
And also the physical part.
yes.
You're like, that is the one part of life that you can't replace by yourself. You need
Mhm.
another person to be there for.
But I think that's something we say often too. Is
What?
by being independent women, we take care of ourselves. If we bring you into our lives, it's because we want you to be part of our lives.
Yes.
Yes.
And
The way men do.
right,
It's, it's the same thing.
right.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't see that. I feel like. Like
yeah.
they feel like, oh no, you need me, and it's like, no, like it's they think need is different than want. Does that make sense?
They like to feel needed.
Yes.
Which is true of everyone now. Everyone likes to feel needed, so there's different ways that you feel needed.
Do you feel like men, when they don't feel needed, are like that's when they start pulling away? Because I feel that sometimes where I'm like, I don't need you to do any of this stuff for me, and then they're like, oh, well then, fuck you.
I make projects for them.
No, it's actually
Give
very
'em-
smart to do.
I've left things around the house that I'm like, here's a project, and I take a video. I'm like, this you have to do when you're here, and this you have to do when you're
Shit. Okay. That's serious.
Right,
I mean, I've found it's like it's kind of like asking for help. I never was someone that
right.
asked for help. Even like with teachers in school, I would hate if I was struggling with a subject and I had to go ask for help. I was like, shit, because I was like, no, I can do this. I can figure this out. But I've found with anybody, it's like, a lot of times people like to help.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So like even the smallest thing of like, hey, can you pick this up from like Dwayne Reed on the way over here? Like, and it's not like doing it like that, playing the game and like, oh, give them something to do. You know, like it's not that thought, but it's just like, no, just if someone's with you, they do want to help you and be there for you.
Yeah.
So there's different ways that you can do that.
Doc B, who has a podcast on our network, he posted something about people that have a hard time asking for help. I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay, I probably need to listen to it. Yeah,
I know.
but it's that's like that's the acts of service love language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is how a lot of men show love.
Yes.
They like being able to do something,
Stuff.
and that's even something of like, I remember I once had a guy like carry my bag, and I remember being like, "This my bag, like I got."
That's my bag.
Like it was a weird, like I was kind of like, you don't have to get, because it wasn't someone I was dating.
Were
But
you,
then
like,
I'm like walking,
soft hand
and
on
I'm
it?
like, this is kind of great. Like, you know, like all of a sudden I was like, okay, I see why
Yeah.
people like doing this. Like,
That's
you know,
funny.
that or like a guy picked up my laundry once
Whoa.
nicely. Like on like he was kind of like, because he knew I dropped it off or so. It was something like he was back the next day and he was like, oh, where's that laundry place? Like I just got off the train. I'll go pick it up. I'm like, okay. But like,
whoa, that's
Yeah.
so nice.
Right, but when
In New
they
York,
do-
that's so nice.
right. But like, and it's something that I would never think to be like, hey, go pick up my laundry for me.
Right.
But like them doing that, you were like, hell yeah. Like I was like,
Mhm.
When they carry my purse or my bag or whatever, I end up being like a big dork, and I end up like skipping around and like fucking with them, and I'm like, you should probably just give me my purse so I
Yeah.
can be a human being.
not a purse. Not a purse.
No.
It was like he picked me up from like the train or something. I had like my wheelie bag.
Oh,
Suitcase.
So I had my purse and then they like rolled my little bag for me.
Mhm.
So cute.
Right, but it was something that I was kind of like, I know this is a classic chivalrous thing,
Yeah.
but I was always the type to be like, no, why would, like, I don't need a dude to carry my bag. Like,
Mhm.
I wouldn't like that. And then someone did it. I was like, no, I like it.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I saw a meme the other day. It was an independent woman's not going to ask or tell you, so just do it type thing. Like, do
Yeah,
it on
true.
your own because she's not going to ask you.
Mhm.
She'll appreciate it most of the time.
Yeah.
But, like, take
My-
initiative.
I think men are the opposite, though.
They're
I like
dumb.
cleaned my ex's bathroom because I was there for like 2 days in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of was like, well, one, it was dirty. So it was bothering me.
Gross.
But it's like, instead of me nagging you, I was kind of like, oh, well, you know what? I stayed here 2 days. So like, let me just like clean it up a little.
Mm-hmm.
But then he didn't like that.
Really?
Right. So like I was like, I just thought that was a nice thing. Because I remember I made his bed once because he left earlier than me. And so when I left, he came home, he sent me a picture and he was like, oh, thanks. Like for making the bed, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like,
That's
yeah,
good.
it's a nice.
Bathrooms off limits.
Yeah, right.
All
Like, you know, you kind of, but I
was
think,
he like hiding things in his bathroom?
no, not at all. It just was dirty. Like,
I cleaned George's apartment one time. It took me 16 hours.
oh,
Ooh.
Jesus.
I threw out bags of. There were maggots in his.
Ew.
Oh, that's disgusting.
He was a disgusting
That's
person. I
disgusting.
cannot believe
Ugh.
I slept with him over and over and over.
I don't know. I think it's maybe sometimes certain things like fall into the mom category,
Mm-hmm.
which some dudes you meet, you're like, oh, I am not going to be your mother. Like some dudes, you're like, oh, you need too much momming.
I'm
Like you're
married
too
to
into
that.
this. And then other dudes, it's like, if you slightly cross into that line, they can't stand it. So.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely tend to become like the most nurturing person, but that's when I lose myself and I like make them the star, and I'm like, wait a minute, I had goals.
Yeah.
What happened here?
Right. That's
Yeah.
why it's like you truly need to find like a partner that
Mhm.
balances you, because there's many relationships that are like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it where the woman is like the go-getter and the husband's this more like supportive cheerleader role,
Mm-hmm.
and it works. So it's like, I feel like when you have two people that really like to work and need like mutual support from one another, that's when it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
It's almost easier to be like, okay, I'll just always go along with whatever you want or you say. and build you up.
Why is it so hard?
I don't know.
Oh, God. Okay, so we have to wrap this up because Marshall's calling me over and over again. So you have a podcast that you also talk about this stuff on. So let's, how can people find that?
It's wherever you listen to podcasts. It's called Shooters Gotta Shoot. We got an episode with, am I saying it right? Mara?
Yes.
Fuck yeah. Okay. And I know, because I say Merrick right.
Yes.
That's why I always go to say Mara. Mara was on for an episode. We talk about divorce. If you want to check that out. Or we do stuff like about like Myers-Briggs, like certain relationship tests and books. We do all the research for you, so you don't have to. So Shooters Gotta Shoot pod on Instagram as well. And I'm at Sperica, which is SPERICAA, 2 A's.
And Joelle, where can we find you?
Find me on Instagram at Joelle Grice Go Forth.
Or you can find her through our Instagram at Happy Never After Podcast. Or you can find me directly at Mara Merrick. Or please follow Be Frank Network. We have some new shows that have just launched, so go check it out, especially Doc B's. All right, love you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.